and hello and welcome, Jeff. It's an absolute delight to have you here today talking to our British Institute of Professional Photography members. Today we're going to be talking all about LinkedIn because that's what you do and that's what you specialise in. And your company name is The Photographer's Mentor.
That's right.
So first of all, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself first before we delve into LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I'm Jeff Brown. I'm based in, I live in Northumberland in England, and I've been a photographer. I am a photographer. I'm still a photographer, still practicing photography myself. I first started in photography, my own business, back in 2004. Prior to that, I was in the Royal Navy where I served as a military photographer. And in the final 2 years of my job with the Royal Navy, I was working with the intelligence services. And we were based in Cambridge. There's myself and a friend who was another Navy photographer who was also based in the same area as me. And we started to get people on the base coming in, not for intelligence work, to ask us if we do photographs of the dogs. And, oh, my daughter's getting married and stuff like that. So we started doing all these sort of like on weekend jobs, fiddle jobs, so to speak. And we realized how much money we could make from photography. So we decided that that would be it. We'd give it a 2-year stint while we were working for the intelligence services, see how much business we could generate. And then I would come out first. And then Kev, who was going to be my business partner, he would come out about 6 months after me because he had 2 kids and a wife. I, at the time, was just engaged, didn't have any kids. And so obviously we were both going to be leaving very stable, financially secure jobs to go self-employed. Now, when you come to leave the armed forces, you get what's called resettlement money, depending on how long you've served. And my resettlement was £7,500 to spend on approved training courses. So the Navy training is fairly in depth. I think the Navy training is one of the only trainings where at the time you would get your BIPP license straight away without putting forward a submission model. So if you did the Army or the Navy photography training course, you would get the letters after your name from the BIPP without submitting any. So it was quite a high standard, the military. So I felt like I didn't need to learn any more about photography. I would sort of like wing it a bit with weddings and see how weddings went. And I did a few mates' weddings, but I needed to understand the value of creating a brand and marketing a business and being a business person. So I spent £7,500 on the business aspect of it. I absolutely loved it. I got straight away, I got really, really into the marketing side of things. And then when Kev left 6 months later, he wasn't really into the marketing side of things. So he gave me that £7,500 and I just turned up as Kev DeRoche at each one of these training courses and signed his name. But consequently, one of the things that happened with that is which I did feel like I'd sort of like cheated a bit was, you know, there was really, really good wedding photographers, portrait photographers in Sunderland who were much better than us. Within 18 months, we had a 6-figure business. Within 20 months, we had another 4 businesses because we opened a niche in commercial, in boudoir, in nurseries, and then we had an aerial franchise business as well, aerial photography franchise business. This was all done through marketing, so it wasn't that we were the best photographers in the world or we were award-winning, because we weren't. There was much better people than us, but we managed to develop the brand right. It's a niche brand, and we knew how to market that. And that was what made us a lot of money from photography, not really, you know, that we weren't exceptional photographers by the standard of the quality of the photographers anywhere else in the Northeast. So I did that up until 2015, then had a change of circumstances. I moved to Northumberland after a divorce, decided that I would like to start training other photographers on the mentoring side of things to enjoy the success that I did. And I needed me weekends back. At the time I've done over 750 weddings, so I was doing about 80, 90 weddings a year. And I couldn't do that while being divorced and seeing my daughter every other weekend because I wanted family time back again. So I changed all my priorities and started this online training program, working with photographers now in 20 different countries around the world.
I mean, it's great. And I see how massively successful you are doing what you do. And I've recently, well, not recently, the last 12 months, I've been working with yourself and other photographers with LinkedIn. And it's interesting that you say about training within the Navy, because the Institute still works with the MOD in Cosford, and all those soldiers and the Navy that have gone through their program do still come out with their licentiate qualification. We still work alongside with them because their training is so amazing, and it's a brilliant facility that they've got there. So yeah, we still work very closely with the MOD. So I'm just going to delve a little bit more into LinkedIn, Jeff. At the weekend, I put on our members' Facebook group what social media platform do photographers use to gain business? And it wasn't a surprise to me. I mean, we didn't get lots of people because it was over a weekend responding, but I put a poll on there and we probably had about 70 responses around that. Now, this won't surprise you at all, but we had 28 people say that their main business comes from Instagram, or that's what they use. That's the platform of their choice to get business. So 28 on Instagram, 28 on Facebook, 12 on LinkedIn, 8 on Google, and 3 on Twitter. Now, many years ago, I used to use Twitter and it worked really well for me, but it doesn't anymore. I see it more of a news reporting site, really. And it's important to use all these platforms differently for your audience. Now, the Institute is well known for having a large commercial and corporate photographers within their business, and obviously we've got a lot of social photography as well, with portraits and weddings, families, and that kind of work. But tell us why, looking at those stats, when people are using Instagram and Facebook mainly, why LinkedIn? Why is that so different to something like Instagram or Facebook, which primarily people do use a lot more?
I think ultimately because LinkedIn is the biggest professional networking platform in the world, and it's growing at an exceptional rate. It's growing faster now than it ever has. So it's growing there's 2 new accounts created every second. I think there's somewhere in the region of 725 million active profile users on LinkedIn currently. Now, although LinkedIn, when people post on LinkedIn, people don't do sales posts. The whole idea of LinkedIn is people network, they motivate each other, they share tips, advice, they help each other out. But everybody on there ultimately knows that everybody's trying to make money, or everyone's trying to build their network, engage with people, and do business with people they know, like, and trust. Where, like, I think on the Facebook side, Facebook is much more openly sales. You know, people doing Facebook ads, running promotions. Now, don't get us wrong, I do Facebook training for members on my program. I've got over 40,000 followers on my Focus on Marketing Facebook page, my business Facebook page. However, to get any traction on Facebook, it's got to be Facebook ads now. You know, the organic reach is like 1%. With LinkedIn, you can be doing business on LinkedIn now. You can be making a lot of money from LinkedIn with a free account. You don't need a premium account. And I tell everybody, never, ever, ever run LinkedIn ads, because LinkedIn ads are expensive. And pretty much all my clients who are doing very, very well on LinkedIn are doing it at the most with a premium account, which is 50 quid a month. But you don't need that. You can do it perfectly well with just a free account. And what I'm saying is it's people's mindsets. The type of people on LinkedIn is also different demographics to the type of people on Facebook. So the average wage earner on LinkedIn earns in excess of 80,000 a year. 41% of millionaires use LinkedIn. Now, if you look at some of the groups and the type of people you get on Facebook, you tend to get a lot of freebie hunters, a Groupon type people, especially if you go in any Facebook groups, like obviously being a wedding photographer myself, people will tag you in, oh, such and such in Brides Northeast or Brides London is looking for a wedding photographer. And then they're looking for something for 400 quid. People on LinkedIn buy because they buy the value of the people, by the value of the business they're doing business with. They're looking for solutions, they're looking for answers. And also what you got to think is, people who are on there who are business people have daughters who are getting married, have dogs they want pictures of, they're getting engaged and married themselves. So they would rather use the services of somebody they already know within their network than doing a blind Google search. So the whole thing about LinkedIn is becoming known, and you become known by having a profile that is fully optimized, and then starting to post content, liked by being human, by being yourself. So I never try and put on a posh voice. I never post any different than the way I would word things. I just, I used to have a social media manager who she now just does on my company pages, but she would put posts out written on my LinkedIn profile. And I said, Steph, you're gonna have to stop doing that, because I wouldn't use a word that long. You're making us sound more intelligent than I am, So I was like, just be yourself, people. And also people like to know a bit about you. They like to know what favorite cake you have, where you went for a walk at a weekend. So don't be afraid to be yourself on LinkedIn. So you become known by post, and then you become liked because you're yourself. And then when people like you, they trust you. So when they come to need a photographer, when they come to want to do business with somebody, they're going to go to somebody they trust and they like. And you think about that, anything you do, if you have a choice to use somebody for any, your hairdresser, where you're going to get your shoes, where you're going to go and buy a cake or something, you'd rather go and do business and give that business to somebody you trust and you like than somebody you don't like. And that works really, really well on LinkedIn. And all this is done within maybe 20 minutes a day. I'm not saying do a hard slog of spending hours on your computer. 20 minutes to maybe an hour, depending on how deep you want to go into it, to do your posting and your interacting, once you've got your profile optimized correctly.
I think you're right there. And I don't spend half as much time on LinkedIn trying to find out what people are up to, watching daft videos and things like that, than you would on Facebook. But two things. So firstly, Jeff, have you got a posh voice?
No. I don't think I have that much of a northeast accent. My mum's really posh, I must admit. My mum and dad were both school teachers. My mum was an English teacher, so yeah, I was constantly getting told off for not speaking correctly.
Yeah. But secondly, it sounds a little bit like I want to say a 4N meeting almost. The big networking group where you used to go and people would exchange business around a table. It seems, yeah. LinkedIn seems a little bit more like that. And, I went to a networking group a couple of years ago, and the best pitch that I've ever heard, the best business pitch that I've ever heard, when somebody stands up and you're given 2 minutes to talk about your business, it wasn't about business at all. The best one I ever heard was somebody standing up and telling me about them, all about them, and what their likes and dislikes were. And at the end of it, we all wanted to go and talk to that person and find out more about them. And they hadn't mentioned their business once. And that's probably the best opening pitch that I've ever sat and had the pleasure of listening to. And it was purely about finding out about somebody before you do business with them, and it works. So I completely get that.
It totally is. So, I think a lot of people on LinkedIn, a lot of photographers on LinkedIn. There's some interesting stats actually. I did a few searches last month, and I filmed these searches and used them as an example for a webinar that I was doing in America. And with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is one of the premium facilities on LinkedIn, you can filter searches by people who have used LinkedIn or actively posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. So I did a couple of searches. One was for Scotland. So I typed in photographers Scotland. So that would show me how many photographers there were in Scotland using LinkedIn. So I typed that in, and the search results came back at 8,500 or something like that. So it's 8,500 photographers with profiles on LinkedIn. Then I narrowed that down to who have posted in the past 30 days. That dropped to 650. So less than 10% of photographers with a profile are actively using it. So then I thought, I'll try that. So I tried Paris, then I tried California. California came back with something out, I think it was 140,000 photographers in the state of California, but there was only 7,000 photographers that actually posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. So what you got to remember is the competition might be there, but the competition aren't actually doing anything. So if you get off your backside, you start doing the posting, you start interacting with people, you're going to get the lion's share of the business because nobody else is doing it. And there's a lady whose profile I'll bring up in a bit, and I know she doesn't mind me telling this story, Ann Thomas. So Ann Thomas came back to me in March of last year, just as we were going into lockdown. She wasn't getting where she wanted to be with our business, so we looked at our business. We created a whole brand based around what she offered and her ideal clients, and we set up our LinkedIn profile, got our branding right, put our offerings together and our packages. Now, at the time, Anne was getting £300 per personal branding shoot. Fast forward from March to about April, May, Anne contacted me. You know, she'd been on board my program, she'd paid for the program, and she was like, Jeff, it's not working for us. I'm worried, you know, I've put this investment in with you and I'm not getting the results. And I said, Anne, just give it another month. Keep doing what you want to do. And I said, just up your posting, make sure you're posting every single day, sending out those connection messages, and it will happen. I said, because what you got to realize is if you start posting today, it's going to take about 8 to 10 interactions with somebody before they really start noticing you. You know, they need to see. They're not going to instantly buy if you when they see your first post in their newsfeed. And then when you've seen you about 5 times, they'll start to recognize your name. And then when you've seen you about 10 times, they might actually contact you. Fast forward to May, June of last year. So about that 3 to 4 month period. And I was like, Jeff, you won't believe it. I've had six inquiries this week. Anne's prices have now gone from £300 to £1,500. So she's ×5 what she was charging in March. She's doing exceptionally well. She's storming on LinkedIn. She posts every single day, 7 o'clock, does a little bit of interaction, then she does the rest of her stuff. It's that consistency through LinkedIn that is driving people to her business. Now, she's now in the fortunate position that somebody who sees her today will probably do business with her in April. But she hasn't got that lag time anymore, because the people who are doing business with her today are the people who first started reading our post back in November. So, you know, you've got that. It's like turning on a tap with a hose at the end. You've got to wait for the water to come through. But once it's flowing, it keeps on flowing. It keeps on coming out. You've got that lag time. So if you start posting on LinkedIn and then you keep that consistency up, yes, there's going to be a dry period of about 2 or 3 months potentially. But then if you keep it up, it's just going to be inbound leads every single day. And, you know, I get leads, I get connections every single day of the week.
So that's really interesting. And I think that is the same with any business. You can't go in day one and expect to have lots of friends around you, can you? But one thing that concerns me slightly, and I know that other people will be thinking the same that are watching this, that do we have to get, like you're saying, let's give somebody time to get to know you. Do I have to get really personal about my own personal life? I don't really want to do that because I want to come across as professional. So how do we go about being professional and personable so people get to know us? But obviously, ultimately, we're there for our business. So does this depend on how you're interacting with people, or does it depend on how you set yourself up on LinkedIn? Does it depend who you connect with? So anybody watching this who is not on LinkedIn at all, how do we go about setting up in the first place? What have we got to be looking at? I haven't got an account. What do I do?
So the first thing you've got to do, obviously, head over to LinkedIn and create your LinkedIn account. But one of the main things you need to do is to decide what is going to be use of LinkedIn. What are you going to promote on LinkedIn? And I say this, you know, and you yourself know this, Karen, you know, now the industry it's most saturated. There's more photographers out there than there ever has been in the history of photography. And what happens is somebody decides, right, I've got a camera, I want to be a photographer, I'm going to leave my job, or I'm going to start doing it on weekends. And then if you ask that person who you want to do business with, who you want to sell photos to, they'll turn around and say anybody who'll have a photographer. So what happens is everybody who starts off as a general or a freelance photographer, and they're basically a jack of all trades, and they want to sell to anybody. But if you try and please everybody, you become special to no one. And ultimately, the only thing you can then do to make yourself different than all the other general photographers and the other freelancers is to lower your price, so become attractive to people who want a low price. And that's what's killing the industry. Now, if you move up to the mid to the higher price range, there's less competition, but the people who are doing business with you are the nice clients, the ones who aren't the tire kickers, who aren't wanting anything for nothing, and they want a solution to a need. So the best way to stand out is to start breaking your business up. And that's what I did. Like 2004, we had 5 different businesses when we came out of the Navy. And I only knew this because I'd learned this on my first original course, which I did was with a guy called Charles Lewis in America. And those courses were on like tapes and CDs, that you used to get sent through the post, and you listened to it. It was none of this online stuff. So what you might want to do if you're a general photographer now, you might say, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep my weddings on Facebook, the weddings and portraits on Facebook, because that is it's very much a business to consumer platform. I'm going to do my headshots and personal branding on LinkedIn. And then the street photography or my landscapes and the arty stuff I'm going to put onto Instagram. So you create individual brands for each one. So it doesn't mean, on LinkedIn, you're a headshot and personal branding photographer and you're a specialist, you become a specialist. So if I'm wanting headshots and personal branding done, I would much rather go to somebody who's a specialist who deals with selling the solution than somebody. I don't want to turn up to a headshot and personal branding's profile and see pictures of babies, dogs, weddings, trucks, because then I feel the photograph. I want to see loads of business people who have amazing personal branding shoots and amazing portraits, and I want to say, well, I want mine to look like that. So that's one of your best ways to do it, is to position yourself as a specialist, a niche, and think of who you want to serve. And it can be anything. I've got food photographers who they specialize in food, drink. So they're dealing with hotels, restaurants, but also food producers, food growers, food magazines, food publications, celebrity chefs, stuff like that. So think about the niche you serve. This could be geographically what's good for you. So I live in Northumberland. There's no point in me really being a headshot and personal branding photographer in the middle of Northumberland where there's hardly anybody here. But what is big in Northumberland is tourism and weddings, Likewise, if you're in London, you might want to be like a headshot and personal branding photographer to the financial services and legal industry, because there's a lot of money within that industry and it's going to be on your doorstep.
So your first thing is decide what you want to be, what market you primarily want to target. And even if you are a general photographer, just decide what you want your niche to be on LinkedIn. Serve one kind of niche, really.
Yes, yeah. But remember that you can have, obviously this is probably going a bit too deep into it, but you can have company pages on LinkedIn as well. So you can have, so you've got your personal profile. So your personal profile is all about your brand and the niche you want to be, but you can add company pages to it. So you can, which are like mini websites on LinkedIn. So you can put your wedding photography on there as well without diluting your brand, but it isn't diluting your personal brand. It's your personal profile. It's its own little entity as your company page. So there is a possibility to have that on there as well and post from your company page. But with LinkedIn, with your LinkedIn profile, find a niche and then also find the solution that the client is buying. And the client never buys images. And this is one of the things I go into massively on the branding side of things with my program is understanding who your ideal clients are. So it's not everybody, it's the ones who are going to pay the good money, and what it is they buy. So an example, Sue Todd, who's one of my photographers, she's a food photographer. Another food photographer, Francisco Sapenza, he's in New York. Both of those don't sell images, they sell the end result. So Sue Todd says she sells pictures that make you hungry, right? That makes you want to eat. So for restaurants, she's selling bums on seats. Francisco Sapenza, one of his strapline is he sells images that you can virtually taste and smell through the news feed. So he's selling crazy engagement on social media posts for restaurant owners. And yourself, you put a picture in of where you've been out for a meal and everyone's going, oh, that looks awesome. And people are tagging each other in, well, we're going to have to try this. And that's what the hotel or the restaurant owner wants. They don't want pretty pictures. They want engagement and they want people to come. So you sell the end solution. Where with headshot and personal branding, they don't just want a pretty picture. they want to create the perfect first impression. They ultimately want to look more professional to their ideal clients, and they want to get more business, but they want to come across approachable, welcoming, but still professional. So think of what your ideal client wants and then sell the benefit of that.
So you've turned it on its head, really, that you're not looking at the image and just posting lots of images. You're giving a solution to who your niche market is. So have you got there something that you can show us with how should my profile look? I mean, we're going to delve into this in a little bit more detail on another interview, but I want to set up today. I'm excited about what you've been sharing with us. I've decided what my niche is. I know what the solution is to my niche. How should my profile be looking?
Right. So hopefully, can you see that?
Yes.
So that's Anne Thomas's personal profile here on LinkedIn. So this is Anne's personal profile. So you'll see that Anne is the lady I was telling you about, who's done exceptionally well. Now, what Anne does and what makes Anne different than other photographers is she doesn't just post pictures of her work. She talks about how she gets to the end solution of taking those images. And one of the big things why people approach Anne and pay, more money for using Anne than they might her competitors is she says all the time that her imagery is telling the story of your business. And what she does is she does a thing called a deep dive. So she dives really deep into that person's business to actually understand everything about it before she even presses a button on the camera. So there's no point in just turning up and going, oh, we'll do some pictures here, we'll do some pictures there, if you don't understand what the business is about. So that's making Anne really stand out. So first of all, Anne's got a beautiful, approachable profile picture here ourselves, so we're obviously professional photographers. We need to have a professional image ourselves. It's got to look approachable. It's not like a selfie. It's not you and your mates in the pub like you might have on Facebook. Keep it professional. Never use your logo either, because people aren't doing business with a logo. They're not doing business with a company. They're doing business with you. Another thing is when you talk on LinkedIn, when you write your profile and when you do a post on LinkedIn, you always talk as yourself. So you never say, Jeff went out for a beer this weekend. You read people's profiles and they'll say, Jeff is an amazing photographer. Jeff, they're writing in third party, or they will say the word we. So we do this, we do that. You're posting as yourself. You wouldn't do that on Facebook. So just post as yourself on LinkedIn. I think a lot of confusion comes from the old days of the, when it was very much like a recruiting platform where people uploaded the CV. The next thing is this here, which is your professional headline, your banner image. So your banner image, again, you can get that default grayed out banner, which a lot of people have. This is some fantastic real estate for you to use and tell people exactly what you do and what, more importantly, what you do for them. So one of the first things when you connect with somebody, you see their name, their professional headline, which is this bit underneath, their banner image, and their picture. Now, most people just put their name and then the professional headline, they'll put what it is they do. So most people, average person would have Anne Thomas, and then the professional headline would be brand photographer. Now, what Anne's done, and this is what I do myself as well, is she's put Anne Thomas is her first name, and her surname, she's put brand photographer. It's a little bit naughty because LinkedIn says you're not supposed to do it, but I'm a LinkedIn live influencer, so I go live on LinkedIn on a regular basis. I've never been pulled up by LinkedIn for doing it. This means that your 120 character professional headline, you can actually get about 250 characters if you use it on an iPhone, if you input it on your iPhone. This area here can be about what you do for the client. So she hasn't just put photographer, storytelling imagery of you and your business, shine online and enjoy New Year savings on your 2021 brand photography. So she's got her offer on here. She's saying exactly what she does. And obviously if you combine that with this really attractive headline here. Now, if we nip over to Alan, Alan's a commercial photographer, so he does photography for the construction industry. So again, Alan Green, specialist construction photographer, helping businesses in the construction and related industries bring their brand, projects, and team to life with stunning photography. So straight away, if you connect with Alan, if you work for Balfour Beatty or Wimpy Homes or something like that, imagine you've got a really big project. You've got a 20, 30 million pounds project. You need some awesome pictures of this project. Who are you going to trust if you're from Wimpy or Balfour Beatty? Somebody who has pictures of dogs, cats, weddings, cakes, all sorts on their LinkedIn, or somebody who is a specialist construction and building photographer who helps bring projects, teams, and brands to life. You know, so you really got to think is these big companies with big budgets, they're not looking for a cheap price. What they're actually looking for is a solution, somebody who's going to do the job properly and somebody who they know, like, and they can trust. And they're going to put their trust in somebody who's a specialist as opposed to somebody who's a generalist. So this is really, really important for LinkedIn. You know, get that headline, that professional headline right. Use the banner image that's related to what you do. Have a great professional picture of yourself that looks warmy. You know, don't have your logo. Have something that's approachable and friendly and welcoming, and make your profile all about your client, not about you. That's really, really important. I'll show you. So if you see my profile, so there's mine. So again, Jeff Brown, and then the Photographer's Mentor, helping photographers create premium and profitable businesses, become the go-to photographer, and book more clients in 2021. I also tell people to follow my own private personal hashtag that I have on LinkedIn, and then you'll see I've got a banner image here which says exactly what I do. So that is the first part. You know, there's so many photographers. You'll arrive on this and it'll just have Dave Smith, photographer, and there'll be a picture of a landscape or a picture of some flowers. Underneath here, it'll just say photographer. You know, it doesn't appeal to the client. You know, if you're a photographer and you want to improve in your business, and you came to my profile, you'd straight away say, oh, he helps us make more money. He helps us, because if you think of it from my point of view, I'm not selling mentoring services. I'm selling what the photographer wants, and they want to build a premium brand and make more money. You know, like, Anne is helping people tell the story of their business and get more business. Alan is helping construction companies showcase their work and projects. Sue Todd is helping restaurants get more bums and seats and sell more meals. So always think of what the end result is for the client and sell that.
Fantastic. I love that. And I've just thought, actually, while you've done that, we are going to delve into it in a little bit more detail on a second interview. But I'm just wondering if, and obviously I haven't asked you this beforehand, whether our members can set up their profile, or if they've already got a current relevant one, that we can put it out there that maybe you can review a couple of their kind of profiles in a couple of weeks. Yeah, we can just pick maybe a few members and you look at them and see how they could be improved, or whether indeed that they've got it correct and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
how does that sound?
More than happy to do that, because obviously I want people to succeed, whether on my program or not on board my program. That's one of the big things I do on LinkedIn. I don't just try and recruit people to come and work with me and be part of my program. What I'm trying to do, and how I've built up nearly 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, is by generally giving out tips and advice to help photographers, because I see so many photographers who are way better photographers than me, struggling in their business, and they could make a lot more money. They could have a premium brand if they just did a few little things, if they changed a few little things, if they built that consistency up and got the key marketing elements right. So as an industry, I want us all to be charging what we're worth, getting the money that we're worth, and having successful, satisfying careers. Because it's a great job to have, being a photographer, and even better if you can make a shed load of money from it as well. Because then like you never work a day in your life. You getting, imagine running your business without any financial worries and doing something that you really love, and that's absolutely tremendous. And it's the sad thing about it, and I get this so many times, and now I get a link, or somebody will message me on Facebook, or they've seen us on a podcast, and they'll go, Jeff, I'm interested in your program, but before I even think about it, can you just tell us, is my photography crap? Am I good enough? And I'll look and I'll message them back, oh my God, if I was half as good a photographer as you, I'd be happy. But what happens is that rut sets in with photographers, because people don't buy the images, they buy the end solution. People buy into brand before they buy the image. So you've got to have the brand right. If you think about any big brand in the world, it's the brand that sells. You know, Mercedes sell on their brand, Jaguar sell on the brand, Ralph Lauren sell on their brand, Barber, we've just been talking about Barber jackets, Barber sell on their brand. However, there's cheaper versions of all of those that actually probably do just the same, if not better. But people buy into the brand, and it's exactly the same with photographers. Your clients can't tell the difference between a good photograph and a bad one because they don't look at photographs the same way as we do. They can tell the difference between a cheap looking brand and a premium looking brand. So if you turn up at somebody's website, the social media, it looks high end, you're using very sort of like premium fonts. Think about, you know, when you go to Marks and Spencer's, or you go to Sainsbury's or Tesco's, you've got those cheap cheesecakes, and you've got the taste the difference ones. The color, the packaging, the font, everything speaks premium. And the first thing you say to your partner is, "Whoa, that looks nice. We'll get this for the weekend." They've done a lot of research on it, and there's only 10% more goes into the cost of the product. The packaging has a higher spend, and then they can actually, so basically they get like a cheap cheesecake, they make it a little bit bigger, put some swirls on the top, and put it in a nice box, and people pay twice the price for it. These are really highly profitable products for supermarkets. But we fooled into buying it because we go, "Oh, that looks nice," because the brand appeals to us first. And that's, you know, that's the saddest thing I see with photographers, because they don't have the brand. So the brand looks cheap, or the brand doesn't connect with the client. When they're not getting the jobs and they're not getting the money they should be getting, they don't think about the brand. They think, "My photography must be crap." So they start to back down their abilities as photographers, and it's got nothing to do with your ability as a photographer. It's got to do with your ability as how to market your business. When you get your brand right and you get your marketing right, you only have to do this once or twice, you know, then that sticks. People buy into your brand. Your prices, like Anne's, goes, you know, she's increased her prices by 5 times, you know, because people are buying that brand. And a lot of people aren't wanting the cheap price, they want the perfect solution, but they've got to be convinced. And people will make an assessment or a judgment of your brand from the second they have. If they come to your LinkedIn profile and it looks crap, if they come to your Facebook and you haven't posted for 5 months, or you've still got your Christmas offers on there, it devalues the brand. If they ask you for a price list and you send them through a crappy Word document with some clip art on, they go, "Ah, it looks cheap." You might be the best photographer in the world, but you've just positioned yourself right at the bottom. So you need to get that branding level done.
Brilliant. And actually, right now, a new year is when we should be doing it. And I know it's so hard for all photographers out there at the minute, because obviously the industry has just been wiped, hasn't it? You know, we've lost our income for the last 12 months. So were you were saying earlier about if people were to start today on LinkedIn, they're not really going to see results for 3 months. Well, actually, today's the perfect day for them to start, because we're not really going to be working properly for another 3 months, are we? Maybe at least, for the majority of us anyway. So now's the perfect time to start that. So bottom line, I'm going to round this up, Jeff. One, find your niche. Well, find your niche, get yourself on LinkedIn, find the solution. What is it, you know, rather than the image, what is the solution to your clients' problems? What is it they're looking for? What are their needs? And maybe rewind back on this video and have a look how your profile should be looking. And in a couple of weeks, when I catch up with you again, maybe we can just, I'll put a post up and ask a few people to share their LinkedIn posts, their profiles, and we can have a look at a couple of them and see where it can be improved or why it's a particularly good one.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a bit of a deep dive. So if they want to share their LinkedIn profile and then maybe their website as well, so I can do a bit before if you send it to them, I can do a bit of research. I can understand what they're selling and what they're selling to the clients, so what their benefit is to the client and the solution, and then we can, you know, we could really give these people value to help them get out there with the brand. And obviously, one thing to think about, you know, I've had loads of amazing branding done over the years. You know, everything I do, from when somebody inquires about my program and I send them a 15-page brochure out, you've got things like Fiverr.com and 99 Designs and stuff like that, and freelancer.com. You know, I can get an absolutely fantastic, beautifully designed 15-page brochure for 45 quid. You know, I might be using somebody in Indonesia or somebody in India, but I'm paying them a good wage for, you know, because if they were selling that in India, they'd probably be getting £10. So everyone does well, you know. So outsourcing is the key thing. If you're not a designer, you're a photographer, you're not a designer, you don't feel you've got that design element, don't try and do it yourself. You're going to spend ages doing it, and then you're never going to be happy. If you want it, get that brand right. It might be 50, 100, 200 pound investment initially, getting all your stuff, your banners, everything created. Do that. Or if you have got a bit of a creative flair, go to canva.com. That's brilliant for doing your LinkedIn banners, brochures and stuff like that, but you've got to create that perfect first impression. Think premium, think Marks and Spencer's and those, and Sainsbury's Taste the Difference range. That's where you should be positioning yourself. You're not like an Iceland bargain cheesecake. You're a top of the range cheesecake. It's always better.
I love that. So just for anyone else to round this up, how can we find you online? Obviously we've seen your LinkedIn profile there, but obviously you're on Facebook as well, and a lot of our members might be on, well, they are on Facebook. Yeah. How can they come and find you?
So so you can check out my website, which is thephotographersmentor.com. That's my newest website. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a connection request. If you have any questions about anything, just drop us a message. I always reply, even if you're just saying, Jeff, what should I do about this? You know, you don't have to be on my program. You don't have to be within my group for me to answer your question and give you advice. I always say a bit of advice doesn't cost anything. I'd rather give you it and see you going in the right direction than you struggle. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. And then I've got a Facebook page, which is that's my other company, Photography and Focus on Marketing. So it's basically facebook.com/focus on marketing.
Fantastic. And without being shy, I know that you've also written a couple of books as well on LinkedIn. If somebody was interested in that, that's on your website as well?
Yeah, or you can go to Amazon and just type in The Photographer's Missing Link. And I think it's about £5 for a paperback copy. You can also get it on Kindle, and that will take you through everything from basically logging onto LinkedIn, setting up your profile, how to do messages, how to connect with people. So that's a great resource to work alongside getting your profile fully optimized. Because what you've got to remember with LinkedIn as well is there's 725 million people with LinkedIn profiles, but there's less than 35 million fully optimized LinkedIn profiles. So when a profile is fully optimized, it moves up a different rank on LinkedIn, and it means it's the equivalent of going to like the first page of Google. So if I was to type in photographers Newcastle, like in my local area, then if you have a fully optimized profile, you're going to come up maybe in the first or second page, as opposed to if you haven't, where you might come up on the page 15. So you've got to think of LinkedIn as also a search engine, so it works very much on SEO keywords. But once you get that profile ranked, if there's 35 million out of 725, if you can get into that 35 million, you're getting yourself into the top 5, 10% on LinkedIn. Then if you start posting on a regular basis, remembering that only 10% of photographers actually post who have profiles, you're then going to be starting to move yourself into the top 1 to 2% of the people on LinkedIn. And then you can be getting in the front of, you don't need to be working with agencies. You don't need to be going through gatekeepers. If you want to do a job for the, big Wimpy Home development, you can find out who's running that Wimpy Home development, and you can connect with the boss man and send him a message if your profile sells a solution to him. So the good thing about LinkedIn is it does away with gatekeepers, does away with emails that never get read or just get deleted. You can actually go and if you can connect with that person, then they look at your profile and think, hang on a minute, this profile's speaking straight to me. I've got a construction company. I want to look good. I want my projects to stand out. This guy does services purely made for me. Then there's a good chance you're going to get that business.
Brilliant, thanks. We could talk all day about LinkedIn, Jeff, all day long, because there is a lot to learn, like as you've just said, how you approach people, what you say about messaging, about what content you put out, what time of day to post. There's so much that we could cover. So we will come back on that, and then obviously people can find you on your social platforms yourself anyway. But for today, I want to say thank you so much.
No problem.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It always is to talk to you, Jeff, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks again.